Welcome to Worthy Ones, the video series where I share all my thoughts and opinions on the newest issue 1 comic books that I read for the current comic book week. I'm Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you love daily comic book content and you think you might like me helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy, you came to the right place. Consider hitting that subscribe button. Also this week, guys, it's not a very large comic book week. I think I got 12 comic books in total to read, and 5 of them were number ones. No, 4 of them were number ones, and 1 is the Amazing Spider-Man comic that we will talk about later. So with that being said, let's get started with this week's episode. Black Lightning, this is issue 1. This comic book is 32 pages for the price of $4. It's written by Brandon Thomas and Fico Ocio does the artwork. The artwork was actually nice in this book. I like the colors, it's very bright and vibrant, which needs to be because, again, he's like a lightning-based character, so you want those colors to really pop in your face when you're reading this. And there's a lot to read in this comic. There's a lot going on. There's quite a few different characters, and this is a book that I decided to pick up because obviously it's part of the DC All-In initiative, and it's at new number 1, perfect for the show, right? Now, I don't know too much about Black Lightning, who is, his name is Jefferson Pierce, and I do know, he is a school teacher and whatnot, and he's got a family, and you get a little bit introduced of, his ex-wife and what she does and all those different types of things, right? But the book really thrusts you into the action right away. It tries to get you caught up a little bit with, what happened in Absolute Power, how the heroes lost their powers, and then when the robots were destroyed, how the powers got dispersed amongst everybody, and now you get random kids that are acquiring these powers, and it's basically Jefferson's job to kind of, go after these kids and bring them back to the Watchtower, right? That's what you got to see. So, in my eyes, though, this book was not worthy. There wasn't a real hook in this comic book. It didn't really click for me, right? I didn't feel like, oh wow, there's these characters here where I can find myself getting attached to. It kind of just really showcases everything that happened. Kind of gives you glimpses of the character, but doesn't give you anything to attach to him. And again, I felt like I was reading almost like an X-Men book. You get kids that are acquiring, metahuman powers, and they're rescuing them and bringing them back to the Watchtower. It's just very repetitive to X-Men. I'm like, am I reading an X-Men book or am I reading a Black Lightning book? And the end was kind of confusing for me as well of what happened to his daughter. So I don't think I'm going to be continuing this. I actually thought that this was, in my eyes, I know a lot of people liked Batgirl. I did not like Batgirl all that much, but I still gave it a C grade. This is below that for me. This is a D+, and I probably, unfortunately, will not be continuing this book going forward. Psylocke, this is issue 1, 28-page comic for the price of $5, written by Alyssa Wong, and the art is done by Vincio Caratu. The artwork's good. Check out the facial expressions right there, man. And when she is in action, it looks very well done also. Here's a page where she's actually going to this party, and you get to see her wearing this nice little dress in here. But there are some really cool action scenes, some psychic things going on in here as well. So I thought that the artwork in this book was absolutely outstanding, okay? I was hesitant about picking up this book because this is a mini-series as far as I know. Here's a nice little page as she's taking on an AIM agent. But I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's check it out. So in this book, we wind up getting to see her come to the factory in Alaska to meet up with Cyclops. And she's thinking oh, hey, I'm going to go on a mission with the team. And Cyclops basically benches her and says, you know what? You're going to be benched. Take some time off, relax, rest. do whatever it is that you need to do, right? Because he feels like she's a detriment to the team right now. So what does she do? She goes on her own on this solo mission, and she teams up with this kid or whatever it was. I forgot his name. Devon D'Angelo, and briefs her on the mission of what's going on, right? And so in the book, she goes to this place where they're actually trafficking these young kids that are, coming into their own with their mutant abilities. And there's this mutant growth hormone gene that people are using to make themselves mutants for a temporary time. So again, they're auctioning off these kids, and you wind up getting to see Psylocke try to stop this event from going on. So this book was very much worthy. I liked this book. This one was a fun read. I didn't expect it to be as solid as it was, and it makes me want to continue the next issue, right? And it was kind of cool to see one of the soldiers in this book actually use the mutant growth hormone to become a mutant, right? I think it was like Skullbuster or whatnot, and that fight scene was great. So very curious to see the direction of this miniseries, and if I had to grade it, I think it was a solid book. I'm going to give it a B, much better than I have ever expected. Power Rangers Prime. This is issue 1, a 32-page comic for the price of $5. This one's written by Melissa Flores, and the art is done by Michael Yeague. The artwork's really good. I love the way the characters looked. There's good facial expressions. I wouldn't say there's like a ton of action, but there is action in the beginning of this book. Again, those facial expressions, those eyes, how it draws the reader right into the eyes. The paneling layout is really nice. And yeah, we get a new cast of characters. This is like the ultimate version of Power Rangers, so this is a perfect jumping on point, especially for people like me. This is the second Power Rangers book that I've picked up this year. The first one was the Kimberly one, where it set the Power Rangers into the future, right? And so with this one taking place in an alternate universe, I was like, okay, or an ultimate universe, I'm like, let's see what it's about. So in this book, really, it's a little bit difficult to get to know all the different cast of characters, like I would say your future Power Ranger characters, because it's just, you're not familiar with them. So they kind of introduce you to this guy and this guy and this person and this person, but you kind of get to see the world that we're living in, as well as Earth was in danger, and then we get these species of people that come and they use their technology to protect Earth, but Earth is under like a very much a handful watch. There's certain curfews, and if you break the rules, you're going to go to jail. And there's this one girl that's on the loose, and she was a former Power Ranger, right? And they don't want the Power Rangers around. They look at them as a threat, right? So obviously, I think what this is going to lead into in the future is obviously these kids are going to be your future Power Rangers, and you do get to see a villain at the end of this book. Who that villain is, you're not sure. I'm thinking it could be Rita Repulsa. I could be wrong, but you'll have to read it to find out for yourself. This book was worthy. I had a good time reading it. Again, there was a lot going on, trying to really get a grasp of who the characters are. So hopefully it dives deeper into like an individual character here or individual character there, so you get to know them a little bit more. But nevertheless, I'm looking forward to the next issue and seeing the direction and how this actual comic grows. So I'm going to give this one a solid B as well. And again, I'm just looking forward to it. GIJoe issue 1. This is 40 pages for the price of $5. This one's written by Joshua Williamson. The art is done by Tom Riley. If you read the Duke series, you're going to know the artwork that you're going to expect in this comic. I thought it was really well done. Some good action scenes between the Joes and the Cobra organization. There's one scene in here where you kind of get to see Cobra Commander, which I thought was awesome, right? And then you get to see him firing this cool laser beam that's made out of energon. So it's kind of like, okay, where did Cobra get their laser guns from? Well, maybe it's from energon. You could go back to that and say that's why they had laser beams in the cartoons, because it's energon technology. I mean, we all know why they use laser guns, right? But still, nevertheless, nevertheless, really cool stuff. I love the artwork in this comic book. So what this book had to offer was just pretty much a good jumping on point for maybe even readers that didn't even read the events of what happened previously. You're not going to feel really lost, right? And this is all the early stages of G.I. Joe and Cobra. That's basically it, right? So you get to see them going on training missions with each other. You wind up getting to see the introduction of certain characters in the book as well, and kind of like what they do and where they came from. And then the whole thing of it all is for both organizations to go after Cybertronian technology that was lost in the Pacific Ocean. And the Joes have a mission of protecting the technology, and then Cobra is going after this technology. So you get to see basically the first conflict of these organizations, and it was fun. It was great. And again, this is just the first issue, so I think we're just getting started. There's going to be many more conflicts, and seeing how everything crosses over, this book is definitely worthy. If you've been on board the Energon universe, this is again just the beginning stages. We're just scratching the surface here. There's going to be many battles. There's going to be great things that come out of this. And if I had to grade this one, I'm going to give this one a solid A. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I can see people maybe being a little bit lost and maybe overwhelmed if you're not too familiar with G.I. Joe or Cobra and the characters, especially Cobra, because I don't think they did a great job at introducing the Cobra characters for a new number one, but they did for the G.I. Joe characters. So, nevertheless, this old guy is on board. The Amazing Spider-Man, issue 61, a perfect issue for worthy ones because there is a one in it, and it's a new start for Amazing Spider-Man, at least for the short term, with Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness on the book. Legacy numbering 955, 32 pages for the price of $5. Honestly, guys, it's just good to see a fresh new team on the series, right? So again, Joe Kelly, the writer, and our artist is done by Ed McGuinness. The artwork is great, man. I mean, it is spectacular. No pun intended, right? You got a 2-page spread. You got great pages here with Dr. Doom. Just a lot of bright, colorful, vibrant, lots of action scenes in this book. Just everything that you kind of want, and it's really refreshing when you read this comic and seeing that artwork instead of John Romita Jr.'s artwork, right? It can be kind of dark and like almost like in this psychedelic feel, because in very many ways it's almost like a Doctor Strange book, which takes me out of it a little bit because I felt like the writing in here may have like bogged you down with all this like sorcerer stuff, but it does show that Joe Kelly kind of knows what he's doing. Like, he can write a story, right? And you just got to sit there and kind of be patient and try to understand all the Sorcerer Supreme stuff. But in very many ways, this book is about a story of Spider-Man who gets the responsibility from Dr. Doom to protect Earth from stopping these monsters. And I guess he can only die like 8 times, or if he dies 8 times, then these creatures are going to take over the world and everything's going to crumble around him, right? And in the beginning, it was fun. You get to see lots of action scenes. He's trying to rescue this guy. It's kind of quirky. It's funny. We do get the whole Parker luck stuff where he's down on his luck again. Why can't you have, be responsible? And of course, it's Spider-Man getting in the way type of things. But nevertheless, it was fun. And I felt like it was much better than what we've been getting, and you get to see cool interactions with him and Spider-Boy as they're fighting against dummies, against like Electro and stuff like that, and Rhino. And again, I thought that this book was very much worthy. And at the end, you've got to see something very dark that happens to Peter, and this realization of him having this responsibility kind of hits him in the face, right? So I'm curious to see the direction of this comic. Now, was it perfect? No, but way better than what we've been getting. And I find myself interested and intrigued, and I want to see where this story goes. So at the end of the day, I'm going to give this one a B+. Definitely a much more in-depth story than we have been getting in a long time in Amazing Spider-Man, and I'm very happy about that. So there you have it, webheads. There are my thoughts on all the newest issue ones this week, plus Amazing Spider-Man. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, remember, guys, there's more content for you to click on. Keep supporting those local comic shops. Keep buying, keep collecting, but always remember, read your comics so we can have great comic conversation. Guys, thank you so much. I'll see you real soon. Bye.